hotter you are, the crazier you can be. Men will put up with it. But the opposite is also true. This is why fat girls used to be so nice. But then the internet and a bunch of black dudes convinced them that they were hot too. Now you can't even talk to one. Relax. You can't have an attitude and type 2 diabetes. If you're over 300 pounds, you need to be as sweet as your blood sugar. These fat white girls who get with a black dude and then they're like, see, I'm not racist. And I'm like, come on, Cheryl. It's not like you had a choice.
Dang.
If you could give a single girl some dating advice, what would you say to her?
How old?
Let's say she's like 21.
Oh, 21. Just bang them all. Bang them all, because men are so immature that you're not gonna lock anyone down. Don't even start thinking yet about the husband stuff. What? But I will say, bang dudes quietly. Don't tell everybody. Shut the about it. Just go do your business. Bang girls, bang guys, bang dogs, trans, whatever you want. But keep an eye out for the good ones in your college.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? Like, keep the solid dudes in your back pocket. Like, befriend them, but don't them or date them or nothing until you're kind of like older and you're ready to like settle down with a boy.
Yeah.
And then call that guy up, like that one you had your eyes on, and then be like, "What's up, dude?"
What the hell did I just witness? What did we witness, for that matter? A dog?
Okay, we are cooked.
Have you gone to university? Have you gone to school? Do you know how to spell? Don't seem to be humorous either, but I'm glad we agree on something for once. Yeah.
So this guy's giving an officer stick for not going to university when this person goes to university and they're still a flipping donut. They literally paid someone to make them a certified donut with credentials and they're still walking around with a mask on. I think you need to look in the mirror, pal.
I've been trying to update my passport with my new name and gender, and let me tell you what an absolute nightmare it's been. As I knew I'd have to travel in late September, I decided to get my application in around April or May to make sure I'd have a little bit of time spare. Around 2 weeks later, I received a phone call saying that they were unable to process my application as they needed further documents, but wouldn't actually explain what the issue was on.
I don't think you're convincing anyone, mate. You look like an egg with multicoloured sideburns. What are you talking about?
On the phone. It transpires that the letter that I sent from the GP didn't specify that they expected the change in gender to be permanent, and so I had to return to the GP to pay for a letter to then send to the passport office with the correct wording. As I was away around that time, it did take about 3 or 4 weeks for this to actually happen. It was then another 2 weeks before they got in touch saying that they weren't able to process my application as the photo from my passport wasn't up to standard, as well as my foreign passport not being in my updated name. I then also found out that I need to apply to change my name on my German passport and potentially have to go to meetings at the embassy, and the whole process can take a couple of months. I do need my documents to travel and I have had them returned to me, but so far the passport office are denying me a refund despite not having provided me with all the information I needed to make a successful application at the time of applying. And what's worse is that I now have to travel on documents that don't match my name or gender.
This is the crazy thing. People want to look at Egg with sideburns here and say that everything he's saying and doing and looking like is all normal. It's completely fine. This person is completely normal thinking. And then people like me and you, we're the weird ones. That's 2025. We are cooked. And he's saying he needs to meet with these people for a meeting. The only person this person needs to meet is a flipping therapist.
Stop it. Get some help.
Oh yeah, and just quickly, we are so close to 200,000 subscribers at the time of this recording. So if you are new and you want to see me cover more flipping donuts like this, do consider subscribing. Click the notification bell so you'll be notified when I upload a new video. Let's carry on.
Fascism is when colleges and museums and news outlet sources are defunded and rewritten. Fascism is when cities are militarized simply for being the opposite party of the current president. Fascism is when rules are written and changed just to benefit the current leader, like the $3.4 billion Trump has made since being president. Fascism is when states are at the threat of being defunded for disagreeing with another country.
The bigger the nose ring, the bigger the donut.
Fascism is when there's no room left for discussion or for argument, and when one thing is declared as fact and any disagreement is punished. So, like, you guys can keep screaming at me in the comments. I'm not saying every Republican is inherently a fascist. All these things add up, though.
The only thing I'm getting from this is the nose rings are just getting bigger. Like, how could anyone put that in their nose and think, yeah, I look good, or I look better than I did before? I'm not saying all piercings are bad, but come on, that right there. Yeah, that ain't a good look, is it? I reckon in these piercing shops, when they come in and say, I want the biggest nose ring going, they'll just ask them a question like, how many genders are there? This person will say 2048. They'll be like, congratulations, here's the biggest nose ring, you donut. I reckon that's what happens, you know?
So apparently, Trump thinks that teaching about slavery is woke. Like, sir, slavery happened before Wi-Fi, TikTok, and even your spray tan formula. How is history somehow political? The Smithsonian teaching kids about slavery isn't woke. It's literally just facts. Saying slavery is bad isn't some leftist agenda. It's just called reality. When a leader calls history woke, it's about protecting their power. Because if people don't know the truth, they're easier to control. So no, slavery isn't woke. It's just history. And ignoring it?
How much do you want to bet that this girl's parents are super political and it's all they talk about? That's my bettings here.
Do some stupid shit like this. Where is your dad? Where is your mom? Where is your family?
There's no way this kid just made this video. Like, she needs to just go and be a kid. Like, doing all this nonsense with her phone. Man, kids are wild in these days. Because when I was younger, the only things I flipping cared about was playing football with my mates, Xbox, and what's for dinner. That's it. Everything else, who gives a shit? I could care less. These kids, man, just get an Xbox, play Roblox, do what other kids are doing, do something other than this, surely.
Part of America slays the most?
Just being free and being open to be who we want to be.
Absolutely. And what part of America sucks the most?
Probably all the bigots and the haters out there.
Yeah, those people suck.
Yeah.
What do you think, what would you do if there was like a bigot, Republican or conservative?
I already know these two here, hard drives need to be checked ASAP.
Conservative that was here right now.
I'll just let them know no matter what, we still love them. We get it that they have hate in their hearts, but I'm here to share the love.
It's a very good answer.
Okay, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm sorry, but any fully grown adult, man or woman for that matter, that walks around like this, trying to say that they're normal and we've got to normalize this, and they're doing this in public, yeah, hard drives need to be checked. They do, you know, 2 or 3 times as well. This is suspicious activities, man.
Sorry, but I wasn't made for this. I was not made to swipe through fish-wielding men who are lying about their height and want to travel the world like that's original. And also, you know what else isn't original? You're falling. Is a mini-golf date or bowling. We've all been, okay? We've all been to swingers. Stop falling. I want to fall. I want to fall. You should stop falling. Oh, my God.
Well, if she's gonna fall and she wants a guy to catch her, that guy better have 6 months of strongman training, do some deadlifts to prepare for that. Not being funny, but, you know, that's kind of true, ain't it?
I swear to God, if I have to tell another man from Balham my favourite colour, I'm not going to make it. I actually am not going to make it. The plot part of my dating life is done. It's filled with men who eat chicken with their bare hands and try to
What's wrong
make
with
out
that?
with my neck when I'm wearing a turtleneck jumper. It's not that hard to figure it out. I want to find myself a man that I don't have to hide my anti-chafing shorts from, and I can be myself with and not have to pretend that I look like this every day, because I don't look like this every day. And don't my flipping colleagues know it? Like, oh my God, I wasn't made for it. And I don't know how much longer I'm going to last. To be honest, I might start adopting my cats now. In fact, you know what? I'm going to look at Cattersea Dog Home. Cattersea Dogs Home, Battersea Cats and Dogs Home, BRB.
This video is a perfect example of how different dating is for men and women, right? I'm not trying to belittle her or anything like that, but on a 1 to 10 scale, you know, she's not at the higher end, that's what I'm saying, right? Let's be honest here. I'm not at the higher end either. You know, I'm not saying I'm great, but even people like that are still complaining about how much attention they're getting and it's not going their way. There are plenty of dudes, good looking dudes, no diddy, who message me all the time and show me their like profiles on Tinder and just tell me stories about, you know, they'll be showing interest in women for months and months and months, and they get nothing, no attention, no successful dates, conversations don't go anywhere. They've gone years without a successful date or anything, and those are good looking fellas. But you've got the other side where you've got wildebeests and sea lions who are complaining about getting too much attention or it doesn't go the way they want it. It's very different. Very different.
I think it would be the most optimal society when we value fundamentally, you know, equality of opportunity and in general.
And so how could somebody be, if free will doesn't exist, how could they be persuaded to adopt a different opinion?
Like, because we don't have free will right now. However, I can have this discussion with you, and if we have, like, you know, for example, let's say we both value individuals, but then you're like, I want slavery or something. I could say, well, hey, you know, if you value people, here's what would happen under slavery. Then I could move your credence and move your belief into believing what I believe is that we shouldn't have slavery.
So this donut is saying that free will doesn't exist, but then she's trying to tell people to do things differently. Man.
Okay, so men have the monopoly on this force?
Not anymore, but they did.
How do we not have a monopoly on force now?
What happened was essentially with the invention of modern weaponry, which became like essentially like a great equalizer, and not just modern weaponry, but also the ability, I guess we can say bombs are a type of modern weaponry.
You realize modern weaponry still requires physical strength to use.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But the point is, if I have a gun and you don't, you're fucked.
Yeah, but what if you have a gun and I have a gun?
Yeah, the problem is not everybody is.
It's like people don't realize, or they forget, that guns actually are heavy and they are hard to use. You don't just pick it up, point and shoot. They require skill and practice to use.
Strapped all the time.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
No, it does matter.
No,
it does. 100%. It does.
I can demonstrate this for you.
Okay. It does matter because if I had a gun in this room right now, it would make me basically the czar of violence or whatever.
But you would be disadvantaged compared to men who had them.
Maybe.
Well, here's I can demonstrate this.
I know
for
you're
you.
gonna talk about recoil and stuff like that.
Nope, I'm just going to talk about a basic statistic. Which
Sure, go for it.
so women have their guns taken away from them in physical altercations where they're defending themselves at like 10 times the rate that men do.
Okay.
So which means that they 10 times the rate, right? But let's just say it's just double, or let's just say it's just, I don't know, half again. They're still at a disadvantage to men, even when it comes to having weapons.
Yeah, there is.
So men still, so even if you use the weapons as being a force multiplier, men would still have the advantage.
There is a multitude of factors that are going into conflating in here. So, right, when it comes to women getting like their weaponry taken away from them, it could be argued that like, okay, maybe it's because women aren't necessarily like socialized to shoot per se.
Because they're not as strong as men, and so
not
so I would
not
so
strong as
so
men,
yeah.
but
No,
because
look,
women are taught to be very nurturing.
That's
and
fucking
loving.
insane. Look,
yeah, I've held like an LMG, like a heavy machine gun, and You know, I'm a fairly strong guy. I'm not the strongest guy in the world, but you know, I'm fairly strong. I can confidently say, and that was difficult to pick up, and you know, holding it up to shoulder level, and even I didn't get to shoot it, obviously, but managing the recoil and wearing armor, going through a battlefield, managing the bullets, all this stuff, like that's the things you think of when you pick up these weapons. I just couldn't see many women doing that, and that's the truth of it, really.
I'll demonstrate it for you really easy. I think you're gonna have to concede this point. If not, I don't even know where to go from there. If a woman who is not you but has the same amount of firearms training that you do is twice as strong as you are.
Paladins donated $100. Wow, what a gross misunderstanding of history. No concept at all of where our foods come from. Try and go kill a cow with some stone tools, princess. How is that not brute force?
That's true. Well, that's the part of the force predicate, but we're getting to it. If a woman who was not you, but had the exact same amount of weapons training that you did, was twice as strong as you, would she have an advantage with weapons over you?
She had more training?
Same.
But she was more strong than me.
She was just double your strength, but had the same amount of weapons knowledge. Would she have an advantage?
Is she faster than me?
She's just stronger.
I'm not sure.
Would she have an advantage over you if she was armed and you were not, versus you were armed and she was not?
She was armed, I'm not.
Yes, if she's armed and you're not.
She would have an advantage over me.
And if you were armed and she was not, right? That advantage, well, you would have the advantage from the gun, right?
Yes.
But she would have an advantage over you if you were unarmed, right?
If I was unarmed, yeah.
So think of it this way. In this situation, if you had a gun and she did not, she would have more of an advantage than if she had a gun and you did not. You see what I'm saying? So it would still, her chances of being able to disarm you would still be better than your chances of disarming her in the same situation.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, Andrew has a lot of patience because these feminists and all that, they just avoid the truth and they just create circular arguments because they don't want to accept the truth. And that it all goes out the window, doesn't it? Feminism, equality, all this stuff, a fair playing field, it all goes out the window when money comes into the picture, doesn't it? Child support, rich husbands, whatever, all this stuff, it goes out the window, doesn't it? Because most of them are fighting for superiority, not equality. Very different.
I don't think men should be allowed in public spaces unless they have documentation.
I don't think they thought this one through, like, at all. Because, first of all, who is going to be the ones keeping the men out of these public spaces, which were, wait for it, most likely built by men?
Yeah.
Who exactly is going to be the enforcement agents in this fictional situation?
In which at least 5 different women of their own free volition, not under coercion, have vetted this man.
What a donut.
And those 5 women, who exactly is responsible for vetting them? Because in case someone needs reminding, just because someone is a woman doesn't necessarily mean that their character is beyond reproach.
And have willingly given their phone numbers so that this man's references can be checked.
So the question is all of this enforcement and vetting and checking being only done by other women?
I think the world would be a much better place.
And I know the world would be a much better place if some stopped judging others based off of their gender.
There is no way that that woman is a real person. I don't know what date she went on and the guy rejected her or something, but she's pissed. And she definitely ran to the car to film that. Something happened that got her heated, but it's hard to believe that people say those things and they genuinely believe it. They watch it back and upload it. Shout out to her dad.
I talked to a couple of women and mothers, particularly on that side, and one of the things they said to me is they're concerned about an increase in sexual assault, sexual violence, etc. Is that something that you think is credible, or do you think, it's being made up, or how do you feel?
I don't think it's credible at all because one person doesn't constitute.
Right. When someone's holding a sign like that and they've got piercings like that and their hair colours like that and they've got that look we all talk about, you already know they're in a different dimension mentally. They're not going to say anything normal, are they?
Their whole country. There's been loads of white Englishmen who rape. Doesn't mean every white Englishman rapes. Just because one refugee man rapes doesn't mean everyone's going to. Just because there's one in a million doesn't mean everyone's bad. In order to create a good society that works well, we need people from other places to bring in new cultures, to bring in new perspectives on life. I don't think any society can work well without people of different places.
Why is it always people that look like this say the nonsense? I already knew. Because if someone who is legal in a country, for example, and they commit a crime, more often than not, the police have their details, they know who they are, if they're seen on camera, they know their address, they know who they are, they can dig up information on them. But if someone comes in illegally with no name, no documentation, no ID, nothing, and they commit crimes, how are we supposed to catch them when half the cameras don't even work or they're blurry? That's why these people don't even wait till nighttime. They don't even cover their face. They walk down the street in broad daylight, commit crimes, and they're never caught because we have no idea who they are. And then you've got donuts like this who stand out in the street advocating for it. And then other people fall victim at the expense of these people voting for it.
Why are you monogamous? Like, no shade, obviously I'm not monogamous, but why do you choose to be monogamous? Like.
Again, same thing with this. Why do they all have the same look? And people who are sleeping with every flipping other person apart from their partner, they all look the same. They never look normal, do they? They never do.
What's the reasoning? Like, talk me through your train of thought.
Joey doesn't share food!
I guess, it's like the argument, like, there is no white privilege, but I see it, on a daily basis. I work not too far from here, and I see guests that are rude to my coworkers who are Hispanic, and then I walk up and I start talking to the guests, and all of a sudden they're nice to me, and I see it every day. So I guess my question is, like, when you walk, through our country every day, do you not see, people like discriminating against each other and see this problem still?
Well, you just shared a story. So here's my story, and it is part of why I walked away. And I would say that this is maybe, if black privilege exists or non-white privilege exists, then maybe this is an example. So in 2020, I talked about it a little bit before, but most people weren't here. I was doing everything that was asked of me. The world was shut down. I stayed home. I complied with everything. I allowed a grandmother to die alone, needlessly, take her last breaths alone.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And then in summer 2020, George Floyd happened, and I was told, we were all basically told implicitly and explicitly that we could go out and protest or riot on behalf of that, because riots happened in Los Angeles, where I came from.
Yes, I saw.
But we still couldn't go to work. We couldn't visit dying family. We couldn't do those things. And whenever I brought this up, because you shared a story, so I'm sharing a story, I was called racist. I was called racist, and that would not have happened if I were non-white. And the thing of it is, I had a grandmother die alone. Okay, I'm never going to get those last moments with her. I was paycheck to paycheck. I help out my elderly parents. So these people, when we're talking about, it goes back to what I said to the gentleman behind you, when we're talking about what other people experience, maybe the reality is that we just don't know. And if we're offended at the idea of black privilege, then maybe we can put ourselves in other people's shoes and understand why some people might be offended at the idea of white privilege being everywhere, because that is an example where a white person was silenced because you're not allowed to push back on the way we're behaving around COVID because you're white and you're privileged and you're buffered in some way from life suffering.
This is the thing. Do you think we're ever going to stop talking about race and using it like tit for tat? So many people tit for tat about race. And white privilege, I don't even know what it is because I've never had it or seen it. If you're a white straight male, you're open to all the terms, the terminologies thrown at you. You're open to it all. And there's a lot of people who say you can't be racist to a white person, so you can call them what you want. Don't know how that worked out, but people are so... It seems like people have got so much free time to just talk about race all the time. And victimization in 2025 seems to be the prime card, doesn't it? Playing the victim in 2025 is the biggest pandemic.
What if I told you that for many African societies, the concept of the future doesn't exist, and that instead of time moving forwards, time actually moves backwards? This was the work of John Mbiti, one of Kenya's and Africa's greatest philosophers, and in 1969, he wrote something that completely reimagines the way we think of African time. Mbiti says time is a two-dimensional phenomenon with a long past, vibrant present, and virtually no future. Using Swahili words, he describes the two dimensions of time. The first one being sasa, the now, the recent past, and the immediate future which can be experienced. The second dimension is zamani. Zamani is the vast, endless past where all events eventually go on to live forever. But the future in African thought, it barely exists because time is made up of events. Time has to be experienced in order to be real. So because we can't conceptualize events tied to the distant future because they haven't been experienced yet, then therefore the future cannot constitute part of time. And this is why, according to Mbiti, African languages, at least the East African Bantu languages that he studied, don't have a word to describe the distant future. In African time, according to Mbiti, events create time. Seasons, ceremonies, a conversation, those moments produce time, and people produce as much time as they need. An example that Mbiti uses from the communities that he studied is that a year is measured based on 4 seasons, 2 dry seasons, 2 wet seasons. So a year is only over when those 4 seasons have taken place. So a year could take 365 days, 390 days. It doesn't matter the number of days in a year. What matters is that the 4 seasons have taken place. And this is in contrast to the Western view towards time, where time is a commodity, something that can be spent, saved, wasted, or lost. And according to Mbiti, this is why if foreigners come to Africa and they see people sitting under a tree, they would remark that, okay, why are these people wasting so much time? But in African thought, that sitting under a tree, it's not wasting time, it's either waiting for time or producing time. For me, I think this Western idea of time as a commodity is what drives this Western obsession of progress, development, and some promised future. And this difference shapes everything from politics, economics, to how we live our daily lives. Because in African thought, the golden age isn't in the future, it's actually in the zaman.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. I didn't even know what to say during that. The asteroid's coming. It has to be. I think when Jesus comes back, whenever that day is, he's going to turn up and think, what the hell is going on? He might even do a 180 and go back. Man, we're cooked.
Okay, we are cooked.